There is a famous poem called Welcome to Holland, written by Emily Pearl Kingsley. And in her piece, she talks about what it's like to make plans to travel to Italy and what it would be like to make these wonderful plans of anticipation of traveling to this country to experience all of the beautiful attributes that the country offers, whether it be the food, the culture, the people, the sights, everything about Italy. Very exciting. But she goes on to say that if you are on a plane traveling to Italy, and it's a place that you've always wanted to go to, if the flight attendant gets on the intercom and says, "Welcome to Holland," of course you're going to say, "Well, I don't want to go to Holland. I have made my reservations, my plans to travel to Italy. Italy is where I want to go to." But the flight attendant says, "Well, I'm so sorry, but we have landed in Holland, and Holland is where you will remain to stay. So you have no other choice but to deplane and get accustomed to Holland." And at first you think, "Well, I don't know anything about Holland. I haven't been researching about Holland. I've been researching about Italy." But you travel throughout the city, you meet people, you ask questions, you look around and you notice that Holland has beautiful tulips. You venture into the city and you see that Holland has beautiful museums where great works of art by Rembrandt are. And you realize, you know what? Holland isn't so bad at all. I kind of like being in Holland. I like visiting Holland. And even though you think, "Well, I always wanted to go to Italy," and your heart still misses that loss of not going to Italy, you're thinking, "Well, Holland isn't so bad after all, and I'm actually loving Holland." Well, in the summer of 1990, my husband and I found out that we were expecting our first child. And that is when we made our plans to go to Italy. We had anticipated and was thinking ahead in the future of all of the wonderful things that were going to happen once we were a family of 3. And I took excellent care of myself. I did everything right. I ate right, I exercised, I read the book, What to Expect, What You're Expecting, I don't know how many times, because I wanted to have a perfect child. I wanted my baby to be healthy and perfect. In March 1991, our son arrived. He was absolutely perfect. He was healthy. He was 7 pounds, 12 ounces. And as I held my baby, my newborn son, in my arms, I looked ahead into the future as if I was watching a Hallmark movie. You know, those movies that are all feel good and everything is just right. Well, I imagined into the future what it would be like to experience all those milestones that would occur in Ryan's life. The first time that he said mommy and daddy, or first time that he made his first steps, his first days of going to kindergarten. And I envisioned myself being a very active PTA mom. I envisioned myself being president of the PTA, and my husband was going to be heavily involved with coaching our son in basketball. I looked ahead into the future and saw our son doing very well at all of his school subjects and graduating with honors, walking down the graduation procession line in high school. And I envisioned him graduating college and focusing on a career that made him happy. I envisioned him meeting somebody that loved him as much as he loved her, and that they would become married and become husband and wife. And I envisioned myself being a grandma. I even thought, I love a lot of bling. Why don't I call myself Glamma? I kind of like that name. So I had already named myself Glamma as preparing myself for being a grandmother. Well, as the couple of years passed, and as Ryan was entering into his toddler years, I noticed that some things weren't right. And I know you're not supposed to compare. That's one of the things that my mom told me. Don't compare your child to somebody else. But it's kind of hard not to, especially when you are on the playground along with other moms who have children the similar age as your child. And my son, Ryan, was always clinging to me. He didn't want to socialize with all of the other kids on the playground. So I was looking around and I was thinking, my son stands out. And not in the best way did he stand out. But I was heeding the advice of my mom and other people and thinking I'm not going to compare my son to others. And then I enrolled Ryan and I into a preschool class when he was around 3.5 years of age. And there again, Ryan was not socializing with the other children. While the other children were really happy to play with each other, he wanted to cling to me. He wanted to be right beside me. And if I wanted to go use the women's restroom, I had to take him with me, or else he would be screaming. One night, the telephone rang, and it was his preschool teacher. And she very gracefully said to me, I do not want to scare you, I do not want to frighten you, but I feel compelled to share some things that I have been noticing with Ryan. And she said all of the things that I had noticed for a while. She said that she recommended that my husband and I make an appointment with a doctor to have Ryan be looked at. And she said, this could be nothing, but it's better safe than sorry, and to know now if there's anything that you need to do for Ryan. So we did. We made the appointment right away with a doctor, and after the doctor saw Ryan, another appointment was made with another doctor, and then a specialist, and another specialist. And he had tests and evaluations done, and it seemed like it was just a cycle of more and more and more doctors and specialists, until the diagnosis came in. And the diagnosis said that our son, Ryan, was on the autism spectrum, and our son was cognitively delayed. And he was so cognitively delayed that he actually met the criteria for having mental retardation. Whew. That was really difficult to hear, to digest, and to come to this realization that our son has special needs. And I looked back and I was thinking, when I was carrying Ryan, I was thinking I wanted him to be perfect. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, because I wanted him to be perfect. And it was a blow to hear that he wasn't perfect. He wasn't normal. He wasn't like the other children. Well, I didn't take it well. I felt petrified. I felt petrified of the future because I didn't have a clue of what to do, of how to be a mom to a child who has special needs. I was fearful of the future. I was scared of what people would say. I was fearful of his life that was ahead of him. And I felt like a failure. Yeah, I felt like a failure because I thought, what did I do to make Ryan this way? And what didn't I do? Was there something that I needed to do extra to make him be typical? And I had resentment. I had resentment toward the moms on the playground who had these typical children who were happy, who were laughing, who were able to separate themselves from the moms and play with the other children. Oh, I had a lot of resentment. And I had resentment toward my husband. And I had a resentment toward myself because I was thinking, what is it in our genes that would create this, would create this special need within our son? And the last, I am not proud of. I had so much anger. Ugh. I was not only angry, I was just so livid at God. Yes. I was angry and livid at him so much that one day after my husband left to go to work and Ryan was sleeping, I literally put my hands in a fist and I put them up and I raised them up and I was saying, God, I don't understand. Why did you make Ryan this way? Why are you doing this to him? He doesn't deserve it. I don't deserve it. My husband doesn't deserve it. We don't deserve this as a family. It wasn't in our plans. He was supposed to be perfect. I did everything right. Why are you doing this? It wasn't in the plan. Not our plan. And I remember I had my fists so tight and I was so angry at the Lord. And yeah, it wasn't in my plan. It wasn't in my husband's plan. It wasn't in our family's plan. It was indeed in God's plan. But at that time, I didn't really accept it. So I was bound and determined to be on a mission that I was going to handle it all. That I was going to make appointments for my husband and I to take Ryan to meet other doctors so that they could heal him, to specialists so that they could just perform a miracle and just fix him. I wanted our son to be fixed. I wanted our son to be perfect. And I was like a hamster on a wheel for many years until he was about 12 years old. I was this hamster going, not listening to the voice of God, not listening to him, not being still, but I was listening to my own chatter in my head that I was going to handle it all and I was going to make everything right. And at 12 years old, my husband and I, when Ryan was 12 years old, my husband and I attended a parent-teacher conference. Ryan was in special education all the years of grade school. And at this conference, his teacher looked us directly into our eyes and said, Ryan is such a delight to have in my class. You know, I can be having a really bad morning, but as soon as I hear him walk into my classroom singing, Ryan loves to sing. As soon as I hear him singing, he can suddenly make my day a lot better. He brings a smile of joy onto my face, and he has an infectious laugh that I just can't help but be in a positive, cheerful mood when I'm around your son. Mr. and Mrs. Borquist, your son is a blessing in my life. A blessing. Now, ever since we knew we were expecting Ryan, my husband, myself, our family, we have always considered Ryan to be a blessing. But that particular day, I actually listened to somebody outside of our family circle say that Ryan was a blessing. And the thing is that she wasn't the first person to ever say that. Oh no. In hindsight, I looked back and I was thinking there had been other people ever since Ryan had been born who weren't in our family that was saying, Ryan is such a blessing. Ryan is so wonderful. Ryan is a blessing from God. But the thing is, I never heard them because I was not paying attention to them. Remember, I was this hamster on a wheel, trying to fix Ryan, trying to make Ryan perfect. That I was deaf. I didn't hear them. I didn't hear those words. And I realized then that I should have. I should have listened. I should have been still and listened to God's voice. Listened to his voice instead of the chatter in my head to try to fix everything on my own. I should have opened up my heart to God and to the presence of him in our life and enabled him and allowed him to bless us with all of his grace and his love and his faithfulness. But I didn't. And in my quest for Ryan to be perfect, I asked myself, well, what is perfection? And as I began to think about it, I realized that we are all flawed. You are flawed. I am flawed. Every one of us is flawed. We are not perfect because perfection does not exist. Well, it does exist, but the only perfection is God. He is perfect. He is omnipotent. He is what perfection is. And despite our flaws, despite our imperfections, every single one of us has the capability to be a blessing to other people, to be a blessing to the world. Every single one of us. You, me, every one of us. And my son, Ryan, he is no exception. He is a blessing. And he is a blessing just as he is. Now, Ken and I, no, we did not have a plan to have a special needs child. Remember, we had made plans to travel to Italy. But instead, God had a plan to put us in Holland. And God's plan, I have realized through the years, was to actually have me take notice of God. I firmly believe that Ryan was the catalyst to bring me closer to God, to have me have a relationship with God. I firmly and believe it with all of my heart that that was the plan. And I know that many people will say, well, you know, having a special needs child, how can you look upon that as a blessing? And my response to people or to a person who would ask me that is to say, because when you have faith in the Lord, when you trust the Lord with all of your heart, you know that God has these plans in place that bring you back to Him. And that is where I am finding the joy. And as I said before, with our son, you know, we are in Holland. We're not in Italy. We're in Holland. And in Holland, we have realized that, yes, we had this vision of being in Italy, and we had envisioned of all experiences to be experienced. Experiences that will never come to fruition. I will never be a grandmother because Ryan is our only child. I know I will never be a grandma. And I know that in the past, Ryan, he is 30 years old now. He did not attend college. But I can say right now that our family has experienced so many happy, beautiful, joyful, wonderful moments. And we have met people along the way that we would have probably not met if we had been in Italy. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that right now, as I sit here right now and speaking to you, that Ryan is indeed and has been and is a blessing. And I want to share something very, very, very happy, wonderful news. As I said earlier, he is 30 years old now, and just this past March, he moved into a beautiful group home where he resides with 3 other young men approximately the same age. And he is happy. He is thriving, and he doesn't live far from us, and we see him all the time, and he is becoming more independent, and he is just has blossomed into this fabulous, amazing young man that we are so proud to call our son. So yes, we do not live in Italy. We did not visit Italy. We do not live there, but we visited Holland, and we have remained living in Holland. And it is a destination where we have patience, we have gratitude, we have joy, and we have love. And we are extremely blessed.